Okay. Cut now.
Cut now.
Right. Welcome back.
Jedi, it's like what's the Jedi thing where it's like
These are not the droids.
these are not the droids.
Yeah.
The podcast is starting now. Podcast is starting now.
And we're back. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that guy that wakes up every Clive Wearing or whatever.
It's like the goldfish memory guy.
Yeah. Like he only has has like a 5-10 minute memory or something.
But he still has like long-term memories from before the accident or something.
Well, he does, but they're only like I don't know, like he can only access them like contextually. So I guess if you ask him a question like, what car were you driving in, I don't know, 1965 or something, like he'd probably be able to answer.
Right.
But like you can only get your bearings so much in like 8 minutes or whatever. So yeah, like he probably would be able to access those memories, but subjectively, like he's just always getting his bearings, so he can't really like sustain it, I guess,
right.
or do anything with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if he's adapted to that state of constantly getting his bearings, or is it just
he can tell
continuously
that,
disorienting?
You can tell that, well, because he has a diary, right? It's always the same thing. He's like, I've just returned to consciousness, like I was dead or something. And
damn,
it's just always the same entry. He's like, no, and he's aware of, like, he checks the previous entries.
Right.
He's like, previous entries were errors. I was not aware at that time. Now I am finally aware. Blah, 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 right?
Man,
So
yeah.
he just keeps going through the...
It's wild.
Same.
It's a hell.
Same time loop, right? Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the horror movies tend to have that kind of time loop element, right?
Yeah. Well, that's like the ultimate time loop, and fortunately, it's real. But I feel like he's the only person who's in a real time loop, other than maybe in the world, right? I don't know anyone. It's probably not anyone that has that particular. Well, I guess there is like a technical term for it, so maybe he's not the only one, but it's certainly pretty rare, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I only remember hearing about him, really.
Yeah.
Not aware of super many.
Well, he has like, so he has like retrograde amnesia or whatever, where
the wilder case study was the railroad spike guy. To me,
Phineas Gage.
Yeah. Remember you telling me about that?
Yeah. But Phineas Gage was kind of fine. I mean, like he didn't lose.
He was like a dick, right?
Yeah.
He just became like an unpleasant person.
He became more of a dick, but he was still
medical diagnosis, severe dickery.
Severe dickery, right? But he was still like running. He was still business capable, and
right?
Like he wasn't. It didn't like either impair his memory or actual everyday functioning.
Yeah,
I guess, other than being a dick. I guess,
yeah,
where he's like pretty polite and nice before that, apparently. But again, this was like in the 19th century. So how accurate that really even?
Just the whole recounting of it
is a bit. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit. I mean, okay, like people said his personality changed, but. Maybe it didn't actually change that much. I mean, it's hard to...
I feel like personalities just change in general.
Yeah, personalities change anyway, right? So...
I don't think I'm the same person I was even like a year ago.
Really. Yeah. So it's a little bit up in the air as to how... I guess that's just such like a cool story that people want that to be true.
The railroad spike?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's true in the sense that... But I guess like the idea that he like became a different person. Whereas... I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it did have long-term effects, but I don't know if it like completely flipped him into a different personality or something.
In terms of like flipping into a different personality, there was a case study of, I believe, was she a mathematics professor? And this is contemporary. I think she's still alive. And she got into a car crash or something, like got a head injury. And basically she like came back and like started drawing like super intricate mandalas.
Oh, really?
Where her like math knowledge got like rerouted to her like visual cortex. And so like it was kind of the same level of genius, but coming out kind of through a visual medium. Could probably find some for art.
There's other people that had weird traumatic brain injuries, and they like, there's a few that like apparently like permanently depersonalized. So they're like functional in everyday life, and you know, they have memories and stuff, but they're like I am no one.
Like they have no sense of self.
Yeah,
basically. They have no narrative.
They're just like, oh, like the illusion that was being sustained, like because of the injury, like it's no longer sustainable.
Right.
Like it was only ever an illusion, but now it's just like not even sustainable. So they're just like, yeah, I'm like not anyone. Like I have no identity. I'm not. You know, I'm just like a body that moves around and can do stuff, but there's like no real person or something.
Right. Yeah, it's gotta suck.
Kind of interesting. Well, or maybe not. I mean, it might just be beyond sucking or not sucking, right? Might just be
the
some
absence of experience, right?
Well, I think they're experiencing things, but they don't have. Well, again, if their take is to be believed, I mean, it's hard to know, but might just be like some weird enlightenment or something. Right. It's hard to know, but
it's it reminds me. Well, we have a friend with what is it?
Aphantasia. We should get him on too.
Yeah, like that's true. Actually,
I always forget.
Maybe that's the 50th.
I made a list of people, and I always forget to check.
Totally forgot.
Disorganized with these things, but yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to him about it. Because I was talking to him about it quite a bit last time I met him. But yeah. I mean, there's no like. I don't think there's like any standard of comparison for like traumatic brain injuries, right? So, how accurately you can assess what's actually happening or like what they're actually feeling is a little bit up in the air. Oh, there's another. I was reading some. This is going to annoy me because I'm not going to be able to remember his name. There's this actor who it wasn't Alan Alda. I'm sure I'll remember it, but he's a fairly well-known actor, like in the 80s, like in just like Hollywood movies,
right?
And he was in a car crash and he had a traumatic brain injury, and he was saying that it like sent him on a whole like mystical spiral. Like he had like crazy mystical experiences, and like it was almost like DMT kind of stuff, right? Like you know, he was like realizing, you know, like outside of time and space, and like you know, he realized like what was going to happen after death, and you know, he realized he experienced it before, but he just like went on this whole mystical trip that, and again, he's just, the way he was describing it is very like down to earth terminology. Like he's just using very basic terms to try to explain this, but it sounded very, you know, psychedelic kind of adjacent kind of take. Let's see if I can
I mean, it's interesting riding that line between you know, because the classic dismissal of
Gary Busey, Gary Busey. I think he's still active as an actor. You can kind of see, right? Because he's had a lot of like reconstructive reconstructive work, and
I think I've seen like clips of him. So,
you know, brain surgery and stuff. But sounded like very mystical, psychedelic adjacent kind of experience.
The classic dismissal of
this is another motorcycle injury, by the way. So yeah,
is he wearing a helmet?
Without a helmet. Yeah, went off the bike without a helmet, hit the curb.
It's an interesting stat, basically, like because you know what gets advertised is how dangerous motorcycles are, but then when you actually start digging into the stats, like, you know,
It's mostly like without a helmet.
yeah, first it's a lot without a helmet, then it's
Yeah.
people drinking and riding a motorcycle. So like two very obvious things you can eliminate, you know, through being a responsible human being, basically.
Yeah.
And then, okay, like wear a back protector, wear armor, wear abrasion resistant stuff, wear gear. So you can actually get the risk down pretty quickly, but unfortunately there is that final destination element of shit can go very wrong very quickly, and you're very exposed to all of it, right?
So you said that, I'm just skimming this article here. So you said that his brain after the accident is better. So he said that it says that according to Gary, the accident didn't damage his brain, but he instead has a brain disordered in a better direction because of how it happened and how it recovered. It's an interesting take, right?
It's the idea that the refurbished product is actually better than
the original,
right? Because it got that extra repair and extra set of eyes, right?
Yeah, so it's hard to know. I mean, who knows, right?
Have you heard of what's it called? I want to say it's called like torping.
Torping,
where basically you drill out a portion of your skull.
Trepanning.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
it's a medical term.
Yeah.
Well, they used to. That actually is like a medical thing because they would sometimes have to do that for. Well, again, like is actual brain surgery. You know, if there's like a buildup,
it's like to like relieve pressure.
Yeah, or like fluid, or you know, if you've been shot in the head or something,
right?
Or like if there's like things. Well, that was the thing with Phineas Gage too, who we were just talking about.
And Phineas Gage, basically, he was a railway worker. He was building the railway, and like some TNT went off, and like it shot a railway spike
through,
like
a
1 foot long metal spike, up through his what's this area called? Chin,
like jaw, basically, and
then basically went through his temple,
frontal cortex,
and like out the top of his head, basically, so like behind his eye, type of thing, And
so he kind of got like a free lobotomy with in a sense.
But so it was like a hot railway spike. So basically like cauterized itself.
It did,
right?
But then the problem was that immediately afterwards, again, because this is like the 19th century, right? So the area became massively infected, right?
Right.
So then his brain tissue is like swelling up, and they're having to like drain the pus and fluid, and
it's amazing he survived, because you'd think that that's just like instant death, right?
You'd think so, right? But I guess they were able to start treating him fairly immediately, and fair enough, it was like 19th century treatment options, but,
right?
So I guess he was totally out of his mind for like, I don't know, 2 weeks or something, and then kind of came back to reality. But yeah, like I think for like the first week he was just basically frying on Mars, in terms of consciousness. I mean, just wasn't really there, right?
Yeah.
Whatever he was experiencing that time, which probably was pretty nuts too.
Maybe, yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I was about to say with Gary
Busey. I don't know how to say that either. Busey.
Is it Bucc?
No, it's Busey.
Busey. Yeah,
I should know how to say this because he actually is pretty famous,
but in any case, like so one of the classic dismissal of like the psychedelic experience is it's just like random noise in your brain that like your brain looks for patterns, and it like your neurochemical levels are altered, and so you start like basically interpreting signals that aren't really there, right? And the fact that you can suffer a traumatic brain injury and go into similar sort of mystical states, according to him, right, kind of aligns a bit with that theory as well, right? Where it's a little bit like maybe this is just random noise.
Well, it kind of makes sense because psychedelics do kind of produce, I guess, like decoherence of normal.
I mean, I would say, what are they called? What's Datura again? What's that class?
Oh, that's a anti-cholinergic or whatever.
But what's the common
deliriums?
Yeah,
right?
deliriums, right?
Nightshade or whatever.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
those basically interrupt the core sort of, I don't know, mechanics of the brain or something, right? Like everything just falls apart, and you're in a state of delirium, kind of cutscenes of hallucinations that like really kind of undermine your sense of reality, right? So that's like one thing, right? And then, but with psychedelics, I guess, still different, right? Like classic serotogenetic.
But they still produce kind of less, like they interrupt the normal
default mode network
integration of phenomena, right?
Yeah.
Which is, again, kind of makes sense as to why they produce interesting and good effects, right? Because I guess like the default mode is the way it is for survival based reasons, right? So,
or cultural, who knows?
Well, I mean survival based in the sense that like being like having high amounts of sensitivity and anxiety subjectively kind of sucks, but if you're in situations where there actually is like a lot of danger around, then it's probably
I mean
a bit of a advantage, right?
I won't even focus on that aspect of them. I mean, I think the core thing with the default mode network is the three centers in the brain that kind of work in concert with each other, where there's like the self and other kind of portion. There's the like self and time, and then the like time and space portion. And like those three sections kind of talk to each other a lot, and that's the default sort of consensus reality type headspace, right?
Yeah, but I was just pointing out that a lot of the, I think it might seem weird to people that like having more decoherence would seem more, I don't know, like mystical or even better in some ways. But I do think that is kind of because default functioning is kind of like real world survival terms. So again, if you're in like some kind of mystical, peaceful state, and I don't know, you're in like a jungle or something, it's not necessarily gonna do you much good, right?
Though ironically, the cultures that probably go the most out there are in a jungle, right? Like in terms of Amazonian,
there's been some
ayahuasca.
There's a lot of
culture.
There's a lot of skeptics. Like I read a very interesting article recently that like threw a lot of that stuff into doubt about how just like about the actual historical record of like how long they've been doing that kind of stuff, right? Interestingly, like there's a lot of there's some very interesting skeptical research about psilocybin too, like about how long humans have actually been like interacting with it.
Wait, so what did it throw into doubt? Just how long they've been doing it?
Yeah, and it does seem to be. I mean, it's certainly hundreds of years, but it's not like the idea that it's some like, I don't know, prehistoric carryover seems to be very much in doubt. So it seems like they worked it out much more recently than we would.
So what, like 1600s or something?
Yeah, something like possibly even after contact with the New World or the Old World of Europeans.
What evidence do they have of this, out of curiosity?
I'd have to send you the article, man. But there's a lot of they're doing a lot of research into that, and there's an unrelated one I read maybe a year or two back where they were really looking critically at psilocybin and how long there's been seemingly any record of it, or at least any sort of like verifiable record.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things that can easily be like, okay, like you found some pre-Columbian artifact that apparently depicts a mushroom, but like so like there's nothing really that can be. I mean, it could be a penis. It could be like a little guy. It could like there's a lot of these things which. Again,
I'm always mixing those three things up: mushroom,
mushrooms,
little guy,
and little dudes, right? So there's a lot of these things that people
going to the grocery store is just wild, man. I never know.
You gotta check the fresh produce section there for all three of those
little guys.
Little guys, yeah.
Sorry, so please continue.
There's a lot of these things that I feel people very confidently make these statements like, oh, they've been using this for thousands of years. And there's an unbroken tradition. And I personally also always kind of doubted that was the case. And it does seem like there's not very much good evidence that it isn't super recent. Again, within a few hundred years.
They're certainly a bit shoddy on their record keeping, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I guess just in terms of like, I feel like this gets into like Von Daniken territory where like, again, you like take some random pre-Columbian piece of art and you're like, oh, it's a spaceship.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like some kind of box or something.
Yeah.
That was clearly a spaceship, or like, it's clearly psilocybin mushrooms. It's okay. Like
you've seen the UFO hieroglyph, right?
Let
me see. First of all, let me dig this up and make sure that it's not Twitter nonsense.
Yeah.
Because I remember it coming up a few times.
Yeah.
And it seemed legit-ish. Now let me see if I can spell hieroglyph correctly.
Hieroglyph.
Okay, I like
hero. That's like,
yeah, I believe it's this one.
That's Oh, is it Egyptian?
Yeah, it's Egyptian.
Yeah. Oh, and they're like, oh, it's spaceships or something.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, see, this is kind of what I mean, right? So,
but like, what do you think that is? I don't know.
They're probably just letters, man, right? Like they're probably just.
It looks like, come on, dude. What kind of fucking letter is that?
I wouldn't have. Well, I mean,
it's a pretty clear profile shot of like a plane, basically, right? Some kind of aviation.
I wouldn't have assumed. No, that's not the first thing I would have thought if I looked at this.
Really?
Without prompting, yeah.
Okay. Well, really? Okay.
Nah,
yeah.
It's from without seeing it in context, it's difficult to say anything. But again, random pictographs that are like discs or something. It's very. I think it's pretty incredible to assume that they're like depicting modern shapes or something. I mean, this all comes out of that Von Daniken, the chariots of the gods, where
yeah.
Which people still seem to think is like some. I mean, most of these ideas are just rehashings of these earlier writers, Sitchin or whatever, where he came up with. I mean, he's responsible for this whole misusing Sumerian mythology or whatever, which I also think is a little bit of a weird take, but he thought the Sumerian gods are like aliens or something, and worked out this whole very science fiction style take on that, which people still take seriously for some reason. But
yeah,
probably lack of exposure to actual science fiction. If you read science fiction all the time and then you read people that are trying to pass off science fiction as reality, you're like, nah, it's just bad science fiction. Well, because like actual science fiction writers come up with much more cracked out things that often do come true or are true, as we kind of talked about. But people that are like just, I don't know, fictional archaeologists or something, it's like much sillier than anything that real science fiction writers would come up with. But people believe it because people are dumb, so I don't know what to say.
Yeah, look, we're all just trying to escape the mundanity of
mundane existence.
Is mundanity a word?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Mundanity.
If there isn't anything beyond this capitalistic grindstone that just slowly wears away at your health and well-being and sanity. Like,
well, I just think it's interesting to project things in the like
the idea of an apocalypse is so tempting.
Yeah. I think one of the takeaways, at least from what we're just talking about, is that modern Westerners almost certainly do vastly, insanely more psychoactive substances than like traditional shamans ever did.
Yeah,
So,
just the wrong kind.
All right. Well, I mean, any kind. I mean, I don't think they were exactly.
Well,
they were using these.
If you're on SSRIs, you have bad taste in psychotropic substances. That's a take. I'm not saying that's my take. I'm saying that's a take.
Yeah,
that exists.
They're taking more. They're taking vastly more of any kind of psychotropic substance. Well, again, including psychedelics. I mean, like some random college student in, I don't know, New York has probably done massively more and more powerful psychedelics than like, I don't know, traditional shaman in Mesoamerica like 1,000 years ago or something.
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know.
I'd wager that's the case, man. I mean, okay, we'll wait on the archaeologists to really confirm it.
Like ayahuasca is, my understanding is it's about as wide open of a faucet as you can possibly get on some of these experiences.
I think that both the historical record of it and how often they used it are a little bit into called, like, they certainly weren't running any kind of like ayahuasca industry, right? Like they weren't like I don't know, conducting tours or like well, because the other thing is that traditional societies are like pretty conservative, right? Like they're not trying to like, I don't know, have some frontier of like psychic research or something. Like, no, whatever they did, I mean, they weren't really doing it to like do research. I guess. Like,
I don't think like psychedelics or I don't think shamanic practices is necessarily like progressive or liberal practice.
Shamanic practices are inherently conservative, right? I mean, they're like community. They're community functions that have fairly prescribed rules and roles. So no one was like, if they, to whatever extent that they did use ayahuasca or anything else, they certainly weren't, trying to, I don't know, like go deeper into consciousness or something. I mean, they're using it in very culturally limited ways, I guess.
Can you explain, I guess?
Well, again, shamans are not really like, I'm trying to think another way to phrase this.
I think it's very hard to assess their motivation for using it, right?
Yeah.
Like, because outside of the cultural context, I mean, it's very difficult to understand even why or what the motivation is. But I think the effect is in practice similar, right? I mean, the disassociative element or the disembodying, I don't know, depersonalizing element, the ego death element, let's say, like that's going to be there no matter what, right?
Well, there is, but these also weren't general use substances. I mean, they're only using them in very limited and ritualistic ways, right? So they weren't like just randomly giving them to, I don't know, farmer, whoever, or whatever.
Well,
right?
My understanding with the Amazonian ayahuasca culture was it was basically like essentially the whole village would participate in this, right?
I'm pretty skeptical about that one too. I'd have to look at the research, but not the case from what I've read. Might have to deep dive it a little bit more, but doesn't really accord with any other many other models of it that we've seen. It's usually just a small cast of people that are ever doing it, and and again, they're doing it in highly controlled and quite conservative ways, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of random citizens just like, I don't know, tripping on acid like 30 times or something. Like there's
I
there's
kind of
not
see what you're
really
saying.
there's not really any analog for that in traditional societies.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they also didn't really use it to like imagine new, I don't know, like forms of social organization or something.
Mm.
Whereas like if you look at how psychedelics have been used in the modern period, I mean they're very like tied into like counterculture and you know, like,
ironically, that's just culture, right?
what it is, but
it serves a specific cultural use in the society, right?
It's completely the opposite to like how shamans were using it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's
they're using
kind of a disintegrating cultural force rather than like
a conservative one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the shamans are conservative. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess, right? And again, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm just saying that they weren't like really.
What did you say some time ago about what it's inherently conservative because they believe in a unchanging like social structure?
Well, yeah, I mean they have
shamanic classes like.
Well, I mean, not just shamans, but traditional societies in general are conservative, right?
Right.
So they're not really,
because the social structure isn't supposed to change over time.
Well, because
right?
it doesn't need to, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if they've adapted to, you know, procuring food in the environment
mm-hmm.
and, you know, sustaining themselves and producing another generation,
right?
Like, what do they really like? I don't know. Why are they gonna invent like a, I don't know, computer or something?
Mm-hmm.
There's not really any. We could look at the Aborigines in Australia, right? They were there for what, like 40,000, 60,000 years. It's like what 20 recent histories of ours. It's crazy. Like what? It's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
it's
like,
mind-boggling.
Doesn't make any sense, but it happened.
Yeah,
and they functioned.
The cave paintings are record of this.
What's the record? Like they were alive at the same time as like megafauna. So they were like, they were living like the same culture was coexisting with like giant wombat, like basically like monsters.
They had like
right?
terror birds, right?
Well,
no, that's North America.
They had in Australia. Yeah, they had basically giant animals, right?
Yeah.
So there's like a wombat that's like up to there.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're taller than humans, right? So you're walking around in this like insane landscape with these like monster animals and like all kinds of stuff, and they did. I mean, they're around at the same time as those kinds of animals, and their culture kind of records it too, right? So they're able to sort of transmit.
Well, they have that cave painting of the big-headed, big-eyed beings as well, right?
But they kind of remember it, and like they had memories of. They had like cultural memories of what were probably Chinese explorers, like what 2,000 years ago or something. So they actually kind of did.
You've seen this one?
Yeah. Well, the kind of things they would draw, right? I mean, they would come up with these kind of images.
It's a 4,000-year-old rock art from Wandajnis. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I sincerely apologize, but there you go.
Yeah, they come up with all kinds of stuff like that. Again, they recorded. I think it was the maybe either Chinese or Indonesians that made their way down there. So they're like, oh, there was like some weird humans that came from up north, and they're like trying to trade with us or something. Right. And you know, I guess we gave them some rocks or something, and they went away, and then that's it, right? But yeah, so they kind of did preserve cultural history, even over like thousands and thousands of years. It's pretty hard to do, right? Because
just oral spoken,
just orally. Like there's, you know, they had like song lines and they're like singing and talking.
But
and
so where's the evidence that they were there 40,000 years ago?
just like carbon dating stuff, right? I mean, the dating of artifacts.
That's one of those things that's like highly questionable nowadays, I think, because like radioactive stuff can actually like mess with carbon dating.
I think it's,
and there's good reason to suggest that there might have been strong radioactive events.
I think it's,
in
I'd have
recent
to look into
history.
it more, but I think like I don't think it's just that, but I think like even conservative estimates say like at least 40,000 years, and like more speculative are like 60,000, or like we don't really know, but certainly a very long time, right?
Right.
Like much more than any kind of history that we otherwise like have, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of crazy. And they were functioning that whole time, transmitting knowledge and transmitting culture. But yeah, I mean, I would still argue they're kind of conservative in the sense that they just maintained the culture. They weren't creating anything we would consider, I don't know, modern kind of developments.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean,
where do you stand on that? Like, I mean, as you're describing how long they've been active, and just briefly, I apologize for the background noise. We have a window open, but enjoy the Tokyo sounds.
There's like a karate dojo out there too. So
I mostly heard the birds. I don't know what else is getting picked up.
Dojo earlier where people were like screaming and having.
Don't give too many details away, or you can
triangulate the location.
Bird nests close to karate dojos. Yeah, well, I mean,
the location of the bunker. The bunker's location will be revealed.
But so, yeah, I mean, the fact that Western culture, whatever this is, what I don't know, industrial culture,
that sounds like the music genre, industrial culture, industrial music,
yeah,
industrial, yeah. I think that's. I feel like I feel like industrial music is so overrated. I think it's just like pretty.
Yeah, I mean, this is a generational blind spot for me, because I think that came and went shortly before my birth.
Nah, it's old. It's like 40 years old or something. It's going back pretty a ways, but
like
it's just
EDM and whatnot stems from
not
it,
really.
basically,
Nah,
right?
that's not really.
No?
EDM is more just like pop stuff. Like industrial is like really kind of harsh noise kind of stuff that I don't know, like throbbing grizzle or something, which
I have no idea what that is.
I don't feel like you're missing out on much.
I had a throbbing grizzle this morning, though.
Throbbing grizzle.
Let me tell you that.
Throbbing grizzle in your pants, right?
No, that's last episode stuff. We're not going back there.
Into throbbing grizzle. Yeah. Oh, we're talking about
We're talking about little men and mushrooms already.
Mushrooms.
So this will turn into Penis Envy, the podcast.
Penis Envy, the podcast.
Or I don't know, Penis Envy, not right, but I always thought that was a funny phrase.
Penis Envy.
Yeah,
it's hugely controversial. I mean, well, that was getting attacked even at the time. Like, I don't think that was ever not one of Freud's more attacked ideas. Like, I feel like they were attacking that from day one. Possibly for different reasons than they would attack it now. I feel like it's probably one of Freud's least popular ideas, actually. I mean, a lot of his ideas.
A man with very many unpopular ideas.
A lot of his ideas are.
We should get into like BuzzFeed's listicles of
most unpopular Freudian ideas. It's certainly up there. I mean, it might be number one.
Where does it rank? Is it above or below taking a bunch of cocaine, or is it above or below smashing your
it's possibly
clients?
Even above the Oedipus complex. I feel like the Oedipus complex is at least in the top 3 or something. Penis Envy might even be number one, but Oedipus complex is certainly up in the top 3 to 5, I would say.
Yeah, people hate that one, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's another thing. Like, I feel like people really don't like Freud because he's like he doesn't have like some, I don't know, Lord of the Rings. Like you can't like map him onto like some hero's journey or something. Like it almost all just seems to be like horrible problems. So there doesn't seem to be any like magic. That's why people like Jung. And like if you really read Jung, I mean he's almost just as much horrible problems, but he's like easier to like map onto this like Lord of the Rings hero's journey kind of. Well, that's why like, Jordan Peterson and these like Joseph Campbell kind of thinkers like him more. Freud is just like, this is what's really happening. And it's pretty bad. And this is what's happening. It's pretty like, he doesn't really like have any magical well, I mean, he has solutions, but they're not really like, you are the chosen one and complete your journey and, retrieve your strength. Like he doesn't have these like, fantasy novel kind of solutions that some of the later were applied. So I think people kind of sleep on him for that reason, but his writing is still really important. And I feel like people shouldn't sleep on it just because it doesn't seem to have those same solutions or whatever.
The quote from him, I believe it's from him. I'm sure you'll fill in the gap here momentarily. What is it? It's like if you don't examine your unconscious mind, then like it will, control your reality, and you will call it fate.
Oh yeah.
Do you know that one?
I think it's I mean, I think it might be Jung.
Oh, is that Jung?
Possibly, yeah.
Well, I like that. So that's plus 1 point for Jung and 0 points for
Freud.
Freud, yeah. Unconscious. Wow, I can't.
But that is like a Freudian idea. So I don't know. Yeah, Jung maybe phrased it nicely, but
yeah, it's a Jung quote.
That is like a Freudian idea, right? So,
until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate.
Yeah, well, that's
a banger of a quote.
But that is like a Freud. That's like a paraphrase of Freud's ideas. So I mean, like, okay, yeah,
you think this is a Socrates Plato situation?
A little bit, yeah. So there wouldn't really have been a Jung without Freud inventing all these ideas. So yeah, I mean, they're both important, but I feel like people in the present are kind of sleeping on Freud because, again, he's basically a cocaine rabbi that slept with his patient. I don't think he did as much as Jung. I think Jung slept with his patients more than I don't think Freud even really did. But some of the other psychiatrists at the time did. Certainly doing a lot of cocaine and giving it to patients, which he got in trouble for. So it wasn't the solution that wasn't the solution he thought.
Well, yeah, I mean, you need to stick a methyl group on it and give it to children. That's the solution.
Concentration aids or whatever.
Yeah,
concentration aids.
I realize now that methylphenidate is not just cocaine with a methyl group, but my point still stands.
Similar.
Yeah,
it's pretty similar to what it does to your brain.
What it does to your brain, is similar, but I think maybe the it's pretty wild, man. Modern society do be crazy. Wonder what's going on now. What are they giving the kids now? What's this generation gonna get?
Well, they're still giving them Ritalin, right? Or
you think Ritalin is still the thing?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wonder. I feel like that was kind of like somewhere between our two generations. There's like a big ADHD medication kind of strike zone.
Oh, where they stopped, or were they...
No, like where like it was like really pushed, right?
Yeah. No, it was popular in the 90s too. I mean, they started really amping that Ritalin.
I feel like by the time I was in like university, it wasn't as readily available anymore. I feel like it kind of was on the other side of the
Freud thought that. Well, again, there's that letter where he writes to Einstein or whatever, and they're discussing discussing possibilities for world peace, which again, I think they both come off looking a little bit silly in those.
Well, hey, this podcast isn't going to age much better. Well, yeah, I don't think.
I'm sure, but I think they're kind of. I mean, again, Einstein is asking Freud, like he's saying, I'm just a scientist. I'm kind of a mathematician. Like not really a psychology expert. So, I'm not sure where the chances of this are coming from. And Freud is just saying that he's hoping that pacifism is kind of like a he describes it almost like an atrophy, right? So he's saying, I'm a pacifist, but it's because I'm so over civilized and atrophied, so my instincts have kind of decayed, right? He's saying that's almost like a good thing, right? So he's saying if the continued decaying and atrophying of human instincts continues, then we might eventually have a peaceful world. And but again, he's describing it almost like a pathology, right? He's saying the atrophying or the decaying of these instincts might be the only path forward. But I mean, obviously nothing like that has happened in reality. I mean, this is right before World War II, right?
Yeah.
So the instincts very much have not atrophied in any way, as we're still seeing today, right? So he's wrong, and maybe unfortunately, but it certainly was not the case that that the human race is taken. So they're both fairly wrong, I would say. With the benefit of 100 years of perspective on that.
A lot of psychedelic use seems to kind of go in that direction of trying to overcome base primal warlike instincts.
Yeah.
But do you think that that's all just sugarcoating, rationalization on top of?
The problem is that the source of the warlike instincts is also the source of the other vital instincts too, right?
Like reproduction.
Yeah. So you can't really separate one from the other. I mean, you
could do psychic surgery, right? I mean,
you could try, yeah, but it.
Is that the next step of evolution for humankind, right? Like, if we're actually able to remove, basic bloodthirsty primate drive,
but it's not clear psyche. It's not clear there would be much left at that point either.
You think we're just bloodthirsty primates? Because we're primates, that's it,
right? Yeah. I mean, that's why I was doing the segueing into primates.
Yes, excellent.
Talking about the next Substack entry is going to be on non-human primates, right?
Okay.
Because they're bad artists.
Non-human primates?
Yeah.
Okay. So their visual cortex is not as developed, or
I think the tagline is going to be 98% of our DNA, yet none of our achievements, right? So
take that, you dumb ape.
Well, they haven't really, so their means of abstract symbolic expression is vastly more limited. So we're just kind of dunking on them for that.
I think we should just give them psychedelics. I think we should run the stoned ape theory.
And just try to actually do it.
Yeah, and just see what happens.
I wonder if that's been done. I'm sure that must have been. They've certainly been provided.
Probably next to the space, sex and space.
They've certainly been provided with cigarettes and cocaine, because most of those chimps and most of those acting chimps were huge drug addicts,
or Michael Jackson's Bubbles. I believe Bubbles was his chimpanzee.
Well, they're all provided with substances which, again, they react to much like we do, right? So because they're kind of us, right? So,
I don't know, man. I've never had wine and Xanax and then ripped the face off of my friend's lesbian-looking friend or something.
Oh yeah, that's like Travis, right?
Yeah, that's Travis.
We'll probably mention Travis at some point. We're going to get into Coco too.
Okay. I sense your main beef is with Coco. I think Coco's about to get.
I think Coco is. Well, the other thing too is that
Coco's had it too good for too long.
Coco is a bit of a. if you read the Coco Wikipedia entry, like it details like her history of like sexual perversions, right?
The nipple fixation,
the nipple fixation, and interspecies attachments to male humans rather than male gorillas, right? So she didn't really, she's kind of like a furry, right? So she's like
a reverse furry.
She's a reverse furry, right? She's like, rather than functioning as a normal adult female gorilla, she's like, oh, I'm interested in these non-gorilla primates, right? I'm interested in these humans and I want to see their nipples. Like I want to, interfere with them and stuff, right? So we're starting from basically a reverse furry position in what is allegedly a gorilla language user that doesn't seem to actually. Well, it's a bit like that Clever Hans, like the horse that can solve math problems.
No, well, what is this?
Okay, so there's like I think it was like 1920 or something.
Okay,
and I think it was in Germany, and it was like some farmer or something. Yeah, yeah. This. Oh man, I can't even tell this. I can't even explain the story. So yeah, this horse that could like
I'll keep a straight face and
solve
you can
math
play off
problems
that energy
by
okay.
like I don't know, tracing its hoof in the dirt or something,
like multiplication, addition.
Yeah,
like that
let me
type
try
of.
to.
Not like differential equations.
Let me try to see what
linear algebra, combinatorics. No?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, yeah. So, okay, I was right. So it was in Germany in the very early 20th century, like 1904.
Okay.
So what was actually, so obviously like he wasn't really understanding like equations, but he was like looking for signals from his owner. So he like the horse was able to like recognize, like body language and nonverbal signals,
right,
to like choose answers.
Right.
So like the trainer would either involuntarily or consciously kind of like signal to him,
right,
like, which one was like, I don't know, the answer or something, and then the horse would just like touch it.
I mean, this is the type of stuff you'd expect from like a fair, like a traveling
and
carnival
that's exactly what
attraction.
That's exactly what it was, and like Coco the gorilla seems to be almost entirely the same thing,
right?
Where the trainers are just with her all the time. They're like cueing her into repeating things or like picking things.
Yeah.
And, okay, yeah. So you can condition animals to respond to you, but they're certainly not really.
What if humans are the same thing?
Clever, yeah, they sort of are. Clever Hans was drafted into World War I as a military horse. He was killed in action in 1916 or was consumed by hungry soldiers.
Oh man, it's gotta be wild solving differential equations as a horse, and then you just get eaten, right?
Get eaten by soldiers,
like hungry 16-year-olds,
16-year-olds in World War I. Yeah,
a horse getting drafted.
They're linking it to like artificial intelligence, right? They're like,
okay.
So in the field of artificial intelligence, the Clever Hans effect describes a phenomenon where an algorithm seems to make correct predictions without having the relevant data and or by using incorrect reasoning.
Right.
This effect can appear when a deep neural network's predictions are dominated by unknown features which were not intended for the task. For example, when an image classifier reads text on a photo instead of analyzing the image motif. So there's a lot. So it does get kind of deep, right? Like, so this is like kind of a deep phenomenon.
That
has like other.
I shared the article with you, which was like LLMs create like holograms of knowledge, right?
Okay, yeah.
Where it's like it's the structure that we associate with knowledge without necessarily the like factual backing. Which I thought that was an interesting way to view it. But also, pretty remarkable. Even if it is completely nonsensical, I guess.
Yeah.
Don't give wine and Xanax to your chimpanzee.
To chimps,
yeah.
Is that what they gave to Travis, or? Travis,
Yeah.
the face ripping chimpanzee.
Yeah, I believe he was on wine and Xanax.
Okay, yeah. Don't give him drugs. Don't give him cocaine.
A disinhibited chimpanzee has got to be like that's the Tasmanian devil, right?
Chimpanzees are bad enough when they're sober. Don't want to give them substances.
And then a chimpanzee suffering, a barred out chimpanzee suffering from delusions of sobriety and redosing itself.
Redosing, dropping again. Yeah. I do wonder if they've ever been given psychedelics. I mean, I'm sure someone has tried it. They must have tried giving them acid or something. They've given acid to horses just to like test lethal doses. They give it to an elephant or something too, right? Give some massive amount to an elephant. Yeah. And eventually died, I guess.
Yeah. They're testing.
Overdosing.
I'm trying to remember how much they gave.
Horrible way to die. I mean, I'm sure it just eventually blacked out past a certain point. But
there's a report on Arrowhead also. I can't remember which perspective it was written from, but it was like a 3-year-old who accidentally consumed LSD or something.
Oh, really? Like a huge dose or something?
Not even a huge dose, I think. But like the experience as it's recounted, I can't remember which perspective it's from, but like it actually weirdly seems pretty fine.
For a 3-year-old human?
Yeah, like the human was pretty unfazed. Or like, they had some effect, but I kind of wonder if your brain is just like the default mode network doesn't exist
it doesn't
yet.
really it certainly hasn't like hardened into place, so
like it wasn't really like anything really for the kids.
I'm sure they would still experience something.
It didn't sound traumatic at all, which was, I think that was the main thing I remember getting out of the experience was like they're like really worried at the beginning, but like it ended up just like not really
they weren't like
being
super
anything
traumatized
really.
or anything. Yeah.
Like they just basically sat it out and like played basically.
I'm sure they would. I mean,
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, don't do that.
Acid to small children, or animals, I guess, or animals. Yeah.
Don't respect legal authority and
dosing animals, dosing your pets.
Don't do this outside of legally sanctioned academic studies as
research
are
context
happening currently and do exist in the world. So, but nothing outside of that is condoned.
Yeah, so primates, I think there's some other primate art that has been created, but it's pretty... I
saw an elephant draw a self-portrait once.
Elephants can, I think, draw,
But again, it's just kind of conditioned, I guess.
Clever Hans kind of stuff, I would say. I mean, it is interesting that they can even do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty high level to even be able to do that.
Yeah.
But still...
Yeah, the elephants and... dolphins and whales and stuff that's pretty mental too. Actually, like it is my one experience with it. I was long story short, I was on a catamaran in Hawaii and some dolphins swam up. We encountered them and they're like definitely like very aware, right? Like just the way they were operating in reality really
seems like conscious.
Like you really do get the sense that there is something that it is like to be that being.
Yeah.
So pretty wild that they just kind of exist on the same earth and that Japan kills them and eats them. I guess.
Well, they're not super innocent themselves. I mean, they're pretty violent creatures in a lot of ways. Certainly. Well, I mean, they're one of the few raping animals other than us, right? Which again,
other than us, world champ.
I think we're still probably beating them in overall incidents of sexual violation. RPMs, yeah. Interesting that would be correlated with higher intelligence, higher intelligence and higher sexual assault.
Well, it's again probably going back to this thing with like if your cognitive circuit is pretty basic, then that's really just reproduction.
Yes, right? Reproduction. You're not really getting up to much, right?
Yeah. There is no mate selection beyond this is the biggest, baddest, healthiest kind of.
Yeah, you're not even really aware of what's happening. I mean, you're just following instinct. But that's kind of like Travis too. I mean, like you could say that the other primates don't even rise to the level of criminality. They're just, I mean, like they're violent, but they're not really like criminally violent. They're just instinctively getting pissed off and doing things without much I don't know, much forethought maybe, or much distinction.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure Travis was like when he got killed for doing that, he's probably like, what's happening? Like, why are my friends hurting me? Like, I don't really get this, It's
yeah, I mean, if you have no concept of the crime you're being, which is kind of funny. I mean, like we give humans the insanity out or like the whatever it is. Basically, if you didn't have any agency in what happened, then you can't be found guilty it.
Yeah.
But a dog bites someone and gets put down.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like if.
But
like,
I don't necessarily oppose that either.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, if nothing had have happened to Travis, like he probably would have just been chill the next day, and like he probably wouldn't have remembered that he'd like done that or.
Well, the core takeaway.
Cared too much about it, right?
Yeah.
Just like if everyone had just kept treating him the same way,
right?
Like, he probably would just like it's another happy day with people that give me food and drugs,
right?
And, clothes,
right?
They give me food and clothes and drugs and.
All's well.
Let me sit on a couch, right?
Yeah.
So he probably wouldn't have remembered even that had happened. Like he was just kept functioning in the moment and gone on with his happy life, Which probably was pretty happy. I mean, it was probably happier than a lot of humans, honestly. I mean, it was not really.
Well, yeah, man. I want nothing more than to be a cat for some rich billionaire.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have to do anything. He was just chilling at home and getting food and
just lick my nutsack all day.
Yeah.
Hopefully not get spayed or whatever, but probably would. Neutered, spayed, whatever.
Yeah. So he's living a pretty chill life. I mean, again, but at the end of the day, he was still a chimpanzee. So.
All right. So. Third mic for the podcast. We have Coco.
The
we
gorilla.
Have Clever Hans.
Clever Hans.
We have Travis.
Travis the chimp, yeah.
I propose also that elephant that kept murdering everyone in that one village.
Oh, like it had like personal enemies or something?
Yeah.
It went to that woman's funeral and
killed everyone.
Her corpse. No, it attacked her corpse.
Right.
It was like still pissed off or something.
Yeah. There's a few cases of.
I think there apparently was some. Last I heard, there was some justification where she'd been like throwing stones at it or something.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it was probably provoked by her at some point.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, I could see, I wonder if elephants primates are aggressive, right? Yeah. Primates will definitely start shit.
Yeah.
I wonder what the situation is with elephants. I don't know any personally, but
I wouldn't mess around with them. Yeah,
wouldn't mess around with them, but
certainly wouldn't mess around with them.
They certainly do have more of the gentle giant reputation.
Nah, I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't mess around with them at all.
They probably just want to be left alone, right?
They just want to be left alone. I mean, that's the case with most animals. I mean, we don't want to interfere with them.
Yeah,
too much. Other than psychologically stunting them by raising them in a zoo or something, which is what. Which is why you can have, friendly tigers or whatever, like in Thai zoos or things like that.
Which again, just given loads of ketamine and petted and given milk sounds pretty great, actually.
Yeah, someone I know went to Thailand recently, and a Japanese person, and she was taking photos with these like tame zoo tigers. And I said something like that. I was like, wow, that tiger must be on so many drugs, right? She was like, what? What? I'm like, nah, it's on like the tiger is dosed, right?
Right.
It's probably on like 5 different drugs, and like it's probably. They're like, no, it can't be, right? What? I'm like, yeah, nah, you're not gonna have like a.
Japan's so funny, man.
You're not gonna have like a naturally friendly, calm tiger, and they're like grabbing its tail and stuff. I'm like, that tiger's on drugs.
Yeah,
that tiger is probably dope to its gills, and like it's probably.
Here's a fun thing to do next time you have a friendly house cat.
Yeah.
Like, get its trust.
Yeah.
Like, get it all purring in your lap, and then just casually start petting it backwards.
Yeah, yeah.
And see how long you can keep the trust.
Well, this is like a zoo. This is like an adult zoo tiger, where like random tourist assholes are like not only patting it backwards, but like grabbing its tail and like grabbing its head.
Right.
I'm like, I want whatever drugs that tiger is on, because like if you can get a tiger to behave like this, then you probably have a quality stash. I mean,
that's the key to surviving this capitalist hellhole, right?
Just dose.
Why do they save all the good stuff for the tigers, right?
Yeah.
Like give it to the people.
They're wasting good substances on random tigers and Travis, and
give it to the office workers of Shinjuku or Asakusa. Yeah, probably landed here.
Ready.
Thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Have a good week. Peace.